What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Xbox versus PlayStation, Sony versus Microsoft, because it's starting to seem like these companies are a little bit terrified of each other. There is currently a very big court case that's going down, a legal acquisition that is very objectively about to change the nature of video games. And I want to discuss why this is such an interesting kind of mess. Hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. So today we're talking about the Activision Blizzard deal because it's still trying to be finalized. Microsoft is buying everything from Blizzard's Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, freaking Diablo, everything. They're buying it in one big bulk chunk for $69 billion. Now, in order to do this, they can't just write them a check. Instead, this had to be approved by every country on the planet. Brazil has had to do the official green light, the UK Commission, and now the United States has surprisingly brought up an additional possible lawsuit. Now, the reason this is just such a complicated endeavor is because of two separate things. That $69 billion price tag is actually kind of raising some red flags about how valuable Activision Blizzard actually is. And additionally, there is some concerns of a monopoly. I mean, freaking Call of Duty is simply massive. Call of Duty is still one of the biggest franchises on the planet across every different medium. It's bigger than every book ever written. It's bigger than every album ever released. Call of Duty makes so many, hundreds of billions of dollars. It's just bonkers to even think of them getting bought. But that's part of what a lot of these conversations are about is theoretically, if someday Call of Duty ends up being a console exclusive to Xbox, or it only comes to Microsoft platforms and Sony gets starved out of it, would it break the industry? That seems to be what a lot of these legal battles that are currently going on are about. But today, we got a bunch of different extra official statements by the American government, by freaking Microsoft, and by Sony, and they're kind of hilarious. First off, though, let's take a look at this. The FTC is reportedly likely to file an antitrust lawsuit to block the Microsoft Activision deal. Now, this is a very, very, very big thing. If this goes down, right now, the FTC is the Federal Trade Commission. Their job is to make sure that everybody is playing fair. Their job is to basically make sure that everybody can just actually compete. Essentially, the FTC typically only steps in with stuff like if two mega conglomerate internet companies tried to merge together to take over, all 50 states in America, FTC steps in and manually breaks them up. They make them stay separate companies because nobody else can even have any oxygen to try and grow. The fact that the FTC is even at some point considering this is kind of bonkers, because this means the American government is officially declaring that Call of Duty is so big and so powerful that Sony possibly losing access would absolutely destroy fair competition, which is an interesting statement from any legal entity. But what's happening now is that Activision Blizzard is now releasing their own report. What's kind of fascinating about this is that Microsoft wants to buy Activision, but what a lot of people kind of aren't considering is that Activision wants to be bought. Activision very clearly wants to be absorbed into the Xbox family, because honestly, that $69 billion paycheck probably means that all the executives, all the people at the top of Microsoft, a lot of those dudes are probably about to instantly retire. Like Bobby Kotick is going to go sailing off into the sunset. But they're saying that this, calling this anti-competitive is completely absurd. Furthermore, Activision is ready to battle against these claims and ensure the deal will close. Any suggestion that this transaction could lead to anti-competitive efforts is completely absurd. This merger will benefit gamers and the US gaming industry, especially as we face increasingly stiff competition from abroad. We are committed to continuing work cooperatively with regulators around the globe to allow this transaction to proceed, but won't hesitate to fight to defend the transaction if needed. Now, kind of what's interesting about this to me is not only does Activision Blizzard have some of the best legal lawyers on the planet, they're definitely, if this lawsuit comes down, they're definitely going to actually defend this tooth and nail. But what's happening is both Sony and Microsoft are legally releasing these big, crazy long statements now about how good, how strong, how weak their companies are. Now, these statements are literally like hundreds of pages, but I've been digging through them, and both of them are trying to act like this deal is better or worse. So this is real. I'm going to read this to you, it's going to make you laugh. This is an actual part of the Microsoft statement. Microsoft straight up says, Sony is kicking our butt. We need Activision to properly compete. Look at this. Not only is Sony's exclusive content more successful than Microsoft, it also receives better ratings from industry experts. The average Metacritic score for a Sony's top 20 exclusive game is 87 out of 100 versus 80 for Xbox. Gamers' appreciation for these titles is reflected in the best-selling games on PlayStation. 3 of Sony's exclusive games, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, and Ratchet & Clank, were featured in the PlayStation's top 15. Like, this document goes on for literally 60 pages. I'm going to just click some random stuff. What's funny is that they try and act like every company that Microsoft has already bought, like ZeniMax, they're basically trying to downplay the success, trying to be like, okay, we are Microsoft, we are buying a ton of different studios, but we're not an evil conglomerate. Well, we're just trying to compete. We just want to fight back. And I have to say, it's kind of hilarious to me because Microsoft, I mean, they're $1 trillion company. Microsoft is straight up in legal prose trying to pretend that this is just a little oopsie doopsie. Oh, we're just trying to buy Activision Blizzard. That's not a big deal. Don't pay attention to us. And I have to laugh. Some of these statements are really funny. Microsoft claims in their statement that Call of Duty is irrelevant, that Call of Duty is just straight up not even a big deal. Call of Duty is consistently outranked in user polls. Call of Duty consistently is outranked on Metacritic. Call of Duty is consistently outranked in their industry reviews. They're literally quoting review scores. IGN is literally being quoted in a $69 billion business acquisition debate. This is extremely funny that we're literally at a point where they're comparing review scores to try and stop this or to allow this to happen. But what I have to say is even more ridiculous is what Sony is trying to do to stop this. Sony has a bunch of extra secret information that the public doesn't have. They obviously have big meetings with Microsoft where they do talk raw numbers and stuff like that. Well, Sony is saying things like, right now, the biggest fear is that if Microsoft even begins to establish a monopoly, they might start to increase prices of games. This is like an interesting complaint. Sony is basically saying that if everybody bought an Xbox, if every single person that's a Call of Duty fan, which is a huge amount, I mean, the newest Call of Duty sold ridiculous gangbusters. If those people 100% bought an Xbox, then Microsoft could jack up the price and hurt the industry. Less gamers, more high spending. It's a weird argument, but here's the other one that I guess I really don't understand. Sony is claiming that Xbox told them that they have 29 million subscribers right now. And I guess it seems like Sony's argument is that if all 29 million people have an Xbox or Xbox Game Pass for PC and this Activision Blizzard deal goes through, all 29 million of these people would theoretically get Call of Duty on Game Pass, and this would somehow break the industry. This would somehow actually skew things permanently in Xbox's favor forever. I have to say, a lot of these arguments, a lot of these defenses are baffling. As it stands, I do think this deal is probably going to go through, but I have my doubts. Because everybody has to approve it. The fact that the UK is still investigating this via antitrust. The fact that the Federal Trade Commission here in America is still investigating it. I do kind of believe that there is a chance that this gets deadlocked. Now, I have heard a rumor that Activision very badly wants this to go through because they want to remove some of their top staff. They do want to remove very toxic kind of, I don't even want to say the word, but the head of Activision, Bobby Kotick, is a guy who is very creepy, but in order to remove him, they want to try and get bought. If they don't get bought, I think Activision may try and sell off chunks of their company. Activision may keep Call of Duty and sell StarCraft to somebody, sell Blizzard to somebody, sell World of Warcraft to somebody. And that's kind of scary as well. But on the other side of the coin, I do think that Microsoft, if this deal gets blocked, is going to go on an absolute buying spree. They already have the $70 billion in cash. If they can't buy this one company, I think they're going to buy a bunch of tiny companies. And to me personally, even as a guy who has an Xbox Series X and plays a lot of games on my awesome PC, I'm a little bit afraid about the idea of them going in and just buying Square Enix or buying Capcom or just buying up everything, because a lot of these companies are only worth about 22 to 25 million. For the singular cost of Activision, they could buy 3 major studios instantly and maybe get instant approval, and there's nothing we can do about it. Those games would just be Xbox forever. You'd never see them again on Nintendo Switch. You'd never see them again on PlayStation. I think this deal is very chaotic. I think this deal is going to change how we look at video games. But what do you guys think about this? Are you tired of the Activision Blizzard deal? Is this as interesting as you? Honestly, I have a secret love of court documents. I think all this stuff, I actually watch true crime stuff and court proceedings all the time. I think this legal battle is endlessly fascinating. But tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Oh my gosh, I did not mean to rant for 12 and a half minutes solid about Activision Blizzard, but this is spicy. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.